This episode of the Primal Scream podcast is brought to you by It Works independent distributor Kathy Sculla. Have you tried that crazy wrap thing? It tightens, tones, and firms any area from the neck down. It Works also provides a wide variety of premium supplements, along with a full skincare line. I personally use their multivitamins and greens, and if you're interested in learning more about It Works products or the business opportunity, call or text Kathy at 319-360-2009 or go to her website, kathysculla.myitworks.com. That's CATHYSKALA.myitworks.com.
All right, we want to thank our sponsor, Sauce Hockey. I love Sauce Hockey because they have super unique clothing. It's all kind of hockey based, but it's not part of any hockey program, so to speak. It's got like cool sayings on their shirts, and again, the most comfortable shirts ever. They have fantastic hats. They have fedoras. They have baseball caps. They have all kinds of stuff. Just a wonderful, wonderful company. We wish them the best because we'd like them to be picked up by the NHL someday. But until then, there's that wonderful little company that everybody loves to get the best frickin' t-shirts in the world from. I just love how comfy they are. Do you like their t-shirts as well?
I love all their stuff.
Good. All right. So Sauce Hockey, please pick them up. We want to thank our next sponsor, Eco Lips. They're one of our absolute favorites. Steve Shriver, Entrepreneur of the Year for Iowa. It's his company. They are organic. They're vegan, if you would like. They have some wonderful, wonderful flavors. They can make just about anything you want because they have this incredible thing called create your own Eco Lips called My Eco Lips. So they can put different flavors, different containers, different coats on the outside so you can see what they look like and have your name and be flashy. But they just do wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I personally appreciate the Mongo Lip, which has mint and peppermint, kind of a minty hemp oil kind of thing. I just think it's freaking fantastic. Do you like? What's your favorite?
You said Mango Kiss.
Mango Kiss.
I like the Mango Kiss. I also like the One World.
Oh yeah,
the One World mint.
That eco container.
Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Me too. So please go to ecolips.com and you can check out all their stuff. Steve Shriver's wonderful little daughter has a great video on there as well. So check out ecolips.com.
Another sponsor that we have is Sweet Rod Joy. Go to sweetrodjoy.com. Check it out. Their website is Desserts to Live For.
They're so freaking yummy.
I love Sweet Rod Joy because when you are trying to watch what you eat, trying to eat healthy, but you need something sweet. All of us have those midnight cravings that are super sweet, and we want to get rid of that.
This also goes one step further. You know why?
Why?
Because you don't even have to worry about those things. You want something sweet. You're thinking about maybe having some, regular convection sugar kind of thing. This stuff is easily a dessert that you should eat anytime you want to when you want something sweet. Not just because it's raw, because it tastes fantastic.
And it's super filling. So things that you would normally just sit and eat the whole bag of, you simply can't do that with Sweet Rod Joy. You have a couple pieces of their fudge, boom, you're done. You're full.
Love it.
So go to sweetrodjoy.com and check out your own desserts today. One of our sponsors who helps us out quite a bit is Penguins Comedy Club. Go to penguinscomedyclub.com and you will see all of their comedians for that week that are going to be performing. So if you don't know what you're going to be doing in the Cedar Rapids area, go to penguinscomedyclub.com and check them out. Also, if you want to schedule an entertainer or you need an entertainer for your company or business or get together, go to usaentertainmentagency.com. Our great friend Jeff Johnson runs that, and
he hooks us up with great comedians all the time. We haven't had one yet that hasn't been a blast to talk to.
So you need somebody for entertainment, you need somebody for weddings, festivals, fairs, corporate, media, whatever.
Oh, I want Doug Thompson at a Renaissance festival. That would be great.
How wonderful would that be? Anyway, go to usaentertainmentagency.com to check out more information and get a hold of Jeff Johnson.
Thanks, Jeff.
Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
And I'm Todd.
And today we have Tom Hall with us. He's a woodworker. He's an artist. How else would you describe yourself? Imaginative.
A bit of a dandy.
A dandy? Really?
He dresses nice.
He does dress nice. I'll give him that.
Great.
And you are ballsy. I'm going to say ballsy because it takes a lot of balls to do what you did with the building that you took over, that you own, that you purchased, and all the things that you've done to it. So, but we'll get into all that stuff later.
Well,
Todd,
I wouldn't have thought of that, but thanks.
I definitely think that's ballsy.
Oh, me too. Definitely ballsy.
Damn. Todd.
Yes.
We're going to play Cards Against Humanity, everybody. Todd, how do we play Cards Against Humanity?
All right. So we have a stack of white cards, and we each have 2 black cards. Tom, these white cards, what I refer to as the answer cards. These black cards are the question cards. And what someone will do is read off a question, and you can look at your white cards because it's always good to see what you have. And you pick out what answer you think is best for the black card or the question card that's read. And the key is that you'll discover that he and I are pretty horrible people.
That's true.
And we
That's true.
either have nasty answers or we have inappropriate answers. And this is called Cards Against Humanity because it is truly atrocious at times. Like you'll be caught off guard. It's so horrible. Even I was caught off guard last time we played with them at New Year's Eve. So horrible, I almost couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
So it's like, ever played Apples to Apples with your grandkids?
No.
No? Okay.
Well, there's going to be a whole new
Yeah,
experience.
it's a whole new experience.
whole new experience. So,
The rules work is the first person who had the most recent bowel movement.
These are actual rules now.
Most recent bowel movement gets to go first, and I did like 15 minutes, half an hour ago, right after I was phone with him.
Were you any closer? Did you?
No.
He was in the car. He was in the car.
Were you in your car defecating? No. Okay. Well, you got me, Todd.
Boom.
So, Todd, what happens now
Is
you and I get to peruse our white cards,
Okay.
and he's going to read off a black card, and we're going to try and fill in the blank with one of our white cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll get to see how horrible they are.
Let's hear
Okay.
it.
You ready?
Yep.
Here's your first card. What did I bring back from? Sorry.
Jesus, have you been drinking?
Hold on. Actually, no. I haven't
blah,
been
blah,
drinking
blah.
for weeks.
All right.
What did I bring back from Mexico? What did I bring back from Mexico? And this is the best part because I can't wait to see what kind of answers I get. And Tom, the best thing about Cards Against Humanity is that you can print off everything they have for free if you want to, or it's $25 to buy it. But the more you spend with them, the more they give to a local charity in your area.
They
So
wherever,
when we
wherever you live,
we bought this, they
yeah.
sent something to a local charity for us on behalf of us.
Yep, in North Liberty.
So they're
And we
a
got a thank you
wonderful.
card.
They're a wonderful group of people.
So, Tom, go ahead and put him right over there. Todd's got his eyes closed
Yep.
because he doesn't know
I don't know. I don't want to know.
who gave him the
good?
response, and that's how we get points. Go.
Good. And Cards Against Humanity is an open source. So I emailed them and said, hey, can we use your cards on our show? They said, you can do anything you want with our cards. And I was like, oh, fantastic. All right. What did I bring back from Mexico? Penis envy. Like, that's great. What did I bring back from Mexico? A slightly shittier parallel universe. Oh, I like that one too.
All right, try to be decisive.
An easy,
Try to make
an
a
easy
decision.
dick joke. I'm gonna give it to. I'm gonna go with a slightly shittier parallel universe.
Boom. That's me, pal. I'm starting off the game strong. Sorry, I didn't mean to flick
Okay,
it
what
at you.
happens?
So this is how we keep score. If he read off that card and he chose my answer, I get it, and that's how we keep score. Now you, sir, can read off one of your black cards.
Okay.
Remember, be closer to the microphone when you're talking. There you go. Perfect.
Oh shit!
I got 99 problems, but blank ain't one.
Okay.
We've done this one before,
Okay. Oh, I like
Perfect.
that.
Okay. Yep. Got your eyes closed. It's completely legit. I can't wait till your lady watches this and hears all your comments. Okay, sir, go ahead and open your eyes. Those two cards right there.
In front of your coffee.
So go ahead and read the black card again and then each.
I got
Response.
99 problems, but blank ain't one. Survivor's guilt. And snort a coke off a clown's Boomers.
Boner? All right, so you got 99 problems, but snorting coke off a clown's boner is not one of them.
But either is. What was the other one? Survivor's guilt.
I've got to go with the boner.
Oh, that's me again. That's me again, sir. I'll take the black card.
Great. Here, I'll take your white
Man,
cards
I am
from
doing really good.
you. You're an asshole.
I'm back in it, people. I'm back in it. All right. But before I kill you, Mr. Bond, I must show you blank. But before I kill you, Mr. Bond, I must show you blank. Just bring it. I know, just rain in answers down at me. If we had more than 2 people, it'd just be cards flying like crazy.
And we played with 8 to 10 people on New Year's Eve, man.
It was a absolute.
It was one of the best New Year's Eve
Are we
that
good?
I've had in a long
Can
time.
I open my eyes?
Almost.
Yeah, there was times where I was crying.
Yeah.
I was crying.
Well, we were crying and laughing at you just because of your comedic abilities. So you're set, kid.
Okay, well, I'm set. Here. Okay. But before I kill you, Mr. Bond, I must show you how awesome I am. Oh, I like that. But before I kill you, Mr. Bond, I must show you slowly easing down onto a cucumber. Do you really want to show Mr. Bond slowly easing down onto a cucumber?
Tom, you're sick.
I'm going to go how awesome I am. Who's that? There you go. You keep that. That is a point for you.
He didn't pick me on purpose.
Todd, you are doing amazingly shitty. By the way, if an expletive does fly out of your mouth, don't worry about it. It's an explicit show.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, don't feel the need to swear, but if you do, don't worry about it.
Yep. What gets better with age?
Oh, this is really good.
What gets better with age? And I think we're going to have one of the creators of Cards Against Humanity on the podcast.
That's
Yep.
gonna be so
I think
great.
the end of February, we're hoping to make that happen. So,
All right, sir, go
be a
ahead and
good
open
thing.
your eyes and make it happen.
all right. What gets better with age? Some shit hot guitar licks. I like that one.
That definitely could get better with age.
Mm-hmm. What gets better with age? Pedophiles.
Seriously, the older they get, the more experience they have. They might be gentler. Who knows?
Well, I had to go with what made us laugh. So, what pedophiles?
Bam, brother.
I knew it was you too. So,
Well, I appreciate you going with the honest answer.
I did. It made me laugh. If it makes me giggle, good chances
seriously. As you get older, pedophiles get better. Go ahead, Thomas. Read another black card.
What will I bring back in time to convince people that I am a powerful wizard? What would I bring back in time to convince people that I'm a powerful wizard?
I'm going to help you out here and bring this a little bit closer to you like that. All right. What would you bring back in time to convince people you're a powerful wizard? This. All right. Hold on a second. Oh, close your eyes, sir.
Okay,
All right, you're open. You're up.
I'm up.
You're up.
Okay, let's do it.
Be loud and proud. Right into that mic.
Okay, a special musical guest chair or medieval times diner and tournament.
Can you imagine that? You go back in time, you're in medieval times, and you're like, hey, guys, seriously, there's a restaurant idea. We're going to eat while you do medieval times.
True.
I got to go with medieval times. It just makes sense.
Boom!
Are you? Have you?
I'll take another black card.
Have you won anything, Tom?
I've won one.
Good. 'Cause
I
you
am
can't
kicking ass and taking names,
Can't
people.
fucking win everything.
Hey, this is the very last black card. I'm going to win it anyway, but we're doing this for shits and giggles. Blank. Bet you can't have just one. Blank. I bet you can't have just one. All right, who's going to end up with this one? Because it's not going to be me. Todd, are you going to get on the board today? Are you going to try? Are you going to? Come on, fella.
You're a fucker.
Come on, fella. Put your big boy pants on. Bitch, put your big boy pants on,
You're
fella.
up. You're
Okay,
up.
here we go. Here we go.
Up.
These two?
Yep.
All right. Walking in on dad peeing into mom's mouth. Bet you can't have just one.
That one always gets me really bad. I don't know why, but
You know what? God bless you, Thomas, because Nubile slave boys. Bet you can't have just one. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily Tom's answer, but it doesn't matter. Both answers are fairly fucked. And they're pretty funny. I'm going to go with nubile slave boys. Yes. Oh, Todd got on the board.
All right, I'll take all your shit. Give me your stuff, kids.
All right, here's my pile. Hold on. Can you handle all these cards coming flying at you?
Just do what you got to do, man.
I gotta get rid of the shirt. Here we go.
A little warm? Go ahead. Make yourself comfortable.
All right.
It's warm.
It's fucking heating up.
I even shut the heat vent because last episode, Todd turned into a girl.
Jesus, it was so hot in here.
And he just started crying on me. It was ridiculous. And then his big fat CrossFit fingers couldn't shut the vent. He couldn't handle it. So,
hey, before we jump into things, crazy. I want to make sure people know about our Kickstarter campaign.
Absolutely, Kickstarter campaign. The link will be below on the YouTube video.
You got it. But you can go to our Kickstarter campaign. You can kind of check out what we're doing. We're just trying to get space for maybe a designated studio if we can get out of the basement here at Todd's house. Not that we don't love it.
Yeah, it's comfy.
And we want to get some new recording equipment and some of that cool stuff. And so you can hop on here, and some of the rewards are we have some posters, some signed posters, some T-shirts, and if you give the big whopping $500, we'll do a designated podcast. You can come in and do
your own podcast.
Yep.
Or we can Skype with you. So don't feel like if you're not in the area, you can't do it.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
You can totally do it.
So hop on there, watch the video, and if you feel so inclined, you can donate, and please, even if you don't donate, please share the information and get it out there on your social media sites and see if you can hook us up.
Yeah, because times are tough. So if you can't give $10, $25, $50, whatever.
$500.
But if, you know what, if there was 1,000 people and they all gave $10, which isn't much, boom, we've hit our goal.
Yep.
Right? And we're hoping to bring live shows to people with the money that we'd be generating. We'd hopefully get newer equipment that we could generate live shows for people and to do commercials and cameras and things
live?
like that.
How do you do
live?
That? I didn't know that. That sounds exciting.
Oh yeah, live.
Glad we're on the same page.
Gonna do instant playbacks.
Yeah,
instant playbacks. Yeah, green screens, everything. It's crazy. Yeah, that type of. So Todd, let's start off with how we generally start off the podcast right after Cards Against Humanity. Current events. What do you got for current events?
Putin.
Oh, you found some Putin stuff.
Go ahead. You Putin it up.
Oh, you bringing up Putin because of me.
Yes.
Because I brought up Putin.
Yes.
Have you heard about this whole Putin thing, the whole second Cold War that's about to happen?
Well, no. You're putting me on.
Not only does he do woodworking, folks, but he also does amateur night at the comedy club. Putin just had a Russian, was it a scientist? Where I heard most of this information from Shane Smith, who produces what's the magazine? I'm killing myself.
It's just Vice.
Vice. So if you go to Vice on YouTube, you can watch his documentaries and things. He goes all around the world, and he tries to get the who, what, when, where, why, how.
He's like a real true guerrilla journalism kind of thing. He's really awesome.
So he went to the South Pole to do a story on glacial melting, right? Mm-hmm. And so he went down there with over 20 scientists from around the world. The leading scientist was from France, but one of the guys he met while on this trip was a Russian who said, I actually planted the Russian flag on the South Pole and said, this shit belongs to Russia now. Because there's immense oil reserves under the Antarctic.
And now that it's melting.
And now that it's all that ice is melting away, they actually can get to it. So now Russia, he was saying that Putin's big plan is to, control this huge oil reserve under the Antarctic, and he's trying to gather back in those satellite countries that was lost or had broken away from Russia, from the USSR, and he's trying to bring back the old glory days, which is fucking terrifying.
I think you start adding in the new wrinkle of ISIS or Al Qaeda. I mean, you add that. I mean, it's like it's going to be one more thing that our resources go to that don't need to be going towards more warfare. You know what I mean? It's almost like it makes me feel like people are in cahoots somehow to keep this military machine continuously going. As soon as something fades away or kind of seems like it's dying off, and we're like, oh, hey, peace and tranquility for 15 minutes, something rears its ugly head. And I wonder if it's the media that just kind of keeps these things drummed up, so we're all kind of like all the time unsure.
You know what? I would give you that, Todd. I would totally give you that
Thanks,
point.
man.
Completely. But here's the thing that actually gives me pause, is that it's coming from Shane Smith. It's coming from Vice, who doesn't have...
Oh, sure.
It makes it so much more trustworthy.
That's a good point.
Coming from a guy like Shane Smith than it does coming from anybody else. Coming from CNN, coming from Fox News, coming from MSNBC.
Right.
Here's a guy that has nothing to gain from it. He's just going around the world doing news.
But Antarctica has been set up so it doesn't belong to any one nation. It's like, how's that going to come down?
Well, so again, I think that's where that Cold War piece steps in, because it's like, okay, so who's going to step there and say, hey, stop what you're doing? Hey, you can't fucking do that. Are we all? Is the United Nations going to get together and go against Russia? They're part of the UN. It's like, how do you battle against somebody who puts a stake in the ground?
Now, this is going to sound a little silly, but if you were to place Putin and Obama in a boxing ring, who's like the scarier fucking guy?
Yeah, it's Putin for sure.
For sure, Putin. And he doesn't even have all the technology that we have. He doesn't have all that stuff, I don't think. In my view of it, it's kind of like the mobster guy that doesn't have that much money. He ain't got nothing to lose. Go ahead, push me. I'll fuck you up. That's how I think of Putin, and I think of Obama like,
let's play basketball.
Fragile. Let me plant a garden. Let me shoot some hoops.
Let's talk this out.
Let's talk it out. Oh yeah, for Obama. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So was there anything else you wanted to kind of talk about? It's just a scary freaking thing if you start adding up the little stories around this story. Putin getting these satellite countries back under his thumb, not backing down from it.
Right.
Even when we're saying, leave these guys alone.
Yeah, but Russia has a lot to deal with its economy and the crash of the oil prices. I mean, it's got a lot on its plate just domestically.
Right, and which would give it a little bit of motivation to get their own oil. Right?
Right.
They have it.
They already have lots of oil. That's why I was wondering that's why it makes me think that, I mean, they're really, really hurting right now, economically.
Right.
And because of the sanctions that I think we and some other people have put on them. And so that's why there's part of me that's just kind of like, oh, is Russia really? And not that I totally agree with your point of Shane Smith being somebody that I trust, when it comes to information, at least. But I mean, that goes a lot of what scares me is that they just had a chunk of ice break off that's 10 times bigger than the island of Manhattan.
You're kidding.
And it just broke off. And you're just like, okay. Because I mean, Chasing Ice was a documentary, an amazing documentary called Chasing Ice. And it shows these guys just happen to be at the glacier, perfect timing, and they hear a noise. And this glacier breaks off, and they kind of it's hard to wrap your head around when you look at a big piece of white chunky ice, and then it starts rolling forward really slowly. And is it cavitating? Calving,
Mm-hmm.
and they stop it, and in the documentary, and they place like not the Eiffel Tower, but the
the
Empire State Building.
Yeah,
so
they superimpose a little image.
Yeah.
Like,
so you can see
scale?
this thing turning over is bigger than 15 buildings. I mean, it's like just unfathomable kind of levels, size, and I mean, you can think about how much water and ice is locked inside there.
But there's two different things to be concerned about, and one thing is icebergs that are already in the water melting. It's like ice cubes in your glass, right? This is how Shane Smith described it. Ice cubes in your glass melting. The biggest concern there is it's watering down your alcoholic drink, right? The glaciers on land melting is like pouring more water into your glass. That's the huge concern. That's the really, really scary stuff, is the glaciers on the land base that is melting and running off into the oceans. And they're predicting 3 to 4 meter rise in sea level.
And they've been saying that for a long time. Why is it different now, do you think?
Is there a reason why you're
sorry.
shuffling through some inappropriate
I was shuffling through. This is on Vice.
How am I not supposed to look at that when you're shuffling? I'm trying to
I understand. I was
be
trying
coherent, and all of a sudden boobs come across the screen.
No, it was.
You know what that does to me?
It was on Sweden, and so I thought there was something that had to do with like polar ice caps or something.
Now he was just on the Joe Rogan Experience, and
Right.
it's something that he just did. It's not a completed thing yet, so I would be surprised if it would even be out there yet.
Okay,
but the scientist that he was talking to said, "Oh yeah, this is old hat. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that this is what's going to happen." And he goes, "No, it's my job to know things like this, like the important stories in the world, and I don't know this stuff. It's not old hat. It's not second nature to understand that we are really, really in some deep trouble."
Is that Americans then? Is it Americans who are not in the loop? Who are kind of living in denial, and we're still arguing about who is a climate denier and who's not? Is that why we're
half the people I work with go, there's no such thing as global warming. That's why I just bought a truck.
Because gas is so cheap right now?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, there's people that I know personally that laugh at me and want to argue about the fact that global warming is a complete myth.
So that's what I'm saying. So if we, as a stupid country, keep this kind of debate going and non-discussion, is it Americans who are out of the loop, who are like, aren't on line with everybody else? Or is it?
It certainly seems that way.
Is if he thinks, everybody knows this. Well, is it us Americans, or is it a large group of people?
You know what? I would like to think that it was just us, and that way it would shine just a little bit of hope, because the rest of the world would kind of be attuned.
Yeah.
But when I say just us, majority of Americans, I think, are clueless about climate change, or either that, or that. I would say the same amount of people that love Fox News, those same people are probably the same people that are like, yeah, there's no such thing as climate change.
But that's not a very big percentage. So, I mean...
It's big enough.
It's big enough, for sure. But, I mean, the median age of a Fox News viewer is like 62, 63.
Well, you know what? Why don't you pop it up there on the old computer, that old magic box you got in front of you, and see what is the percentage of people that actually... What's their demographic? And who that's a guess. The way TV studios decide how many viewers they have, it's really just a kind of a guess.
The show's median age is now 72.1. I was off by 10 years.
Wow.
That's their average.
That's their average, but an average is what it is for a reason. I mean, an average of 72 is probably 65 to 85.
So does that mean they're dying off?
They are. Well, that's a true fact. They are dying off. The hard part, I heard it within the
age.
Yeah. What was that sound?
I have no idea. Was that your stomach?
No. I also heard that within 10 years, the 1% will own half of the world's wealth. In 10 years.
Well, why would that surprise you?
Because, I mean, right now, 1% own, I can't remember what percentage is of the United States, but that's still surprising. Half of the planet's wealth is going to be owned by 1% of the population. That surprises the shit out of me. That's a lot of money for a small group of people on a planet as big as ours.
You know what surprised the shit out of me? Greg Plitt got hit by a fucking train.
I heard about that.
Can you imagine that? Let's say, Tom, it could happen. Let's say somebody's shooting you for a movie. You're an actor in a movie.
Okay.
Right? You're doing a commercial, something. And somebody goes, hey, you know what you should do? Stand on those train tracks. Are you sure that I should stand on the train tracks? Yeah, fuck it. The train's not coming.
Now, from what I've been told is that he does these videos himself. There's Greg Platt is a pretty well-known personal trainer, Plitt.
Yeah.
very well known personal trainer, been in a lot of commercials, very good looking guy. And he used to do these like little, almost like YouTube videos of himself with a camcorder, and he worked out on the railroad tracks all the time.
And he was a reality show star.
Yeah.
Also,
and so I guess supposedly he was recording when the train hit him.
There was 2 people that were actually filming him while he was. So the idea that you would be on the tracks and I would be filming you and I couldn't tell you, hey, doucher, get off the tracks. Something's coming.
Well, now my wife said
engines make a lot of noise.
Yeah. But see, if you've ever been to Palo Alto, California, there's a train that runs from San Francisco down into San Jose.
Okay.
And it rolls through Palo Alto residential.
Faster than the speed of sound?
At least 60, 70 miles an hour. I'm not kidding you. People die
Okay, so not faster than the speed of sound.
No, but people die every single year on these train tracks all the time.
Really?
Kids get their bikes caught in the thing, hit by trains all the time. It happens. So I'm not surprised when they said it was in California, and it happens because they come flying through. Yeah, you can hear horns.
Now, of course, I'm belittling it a little bit. I have no idea what the people who were recording him, what they said or did or saw. I have no clue. To me, it seems so odd that somebody would get hit by a train anymore, especially if if more than one person is aware of what you're doing, if they're watching you, if they're filming you. And they're not aware of the situation around you,
right? To
tell you, hey, step 3 feet off the tracks, you'll be fine,
right?
So,
but I mean, you just don't know the situation. It could be a pretty.
You're right.
Maybe it's a spot that's really hard to see trains coming, or
the big thing is that Greg Plitt passed away. He was killed by a train, and it's a terrible tragedy because he motivated a lot of people to try and get back into shape, and so not to say that he was a great person, but he did some really positive things in his life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was one of the things that I had. Greg Plitt. Sorry about that.
Plitt.
Hey, should we get on to? Did you have anything else?
Let's do this.
Well, you took 2 of my things from what's going on in the world today. You took Russia and you took Greg Plitt.
No, I was just giving you your opportunity to go ahead and do what you need to do.
To do all my stuff.
Do all your stuff, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Jeez.
Thomas Hall.
That's the man, the legend.
The artesian.
Oh, I like that.
Tom, you can see on the site there, that's Thomas Hall, Fine Woodworking. He's got you have some really unique skills, sir. Some very beautiful products that you've created. Where did that fire come from? Have you always been into woodworking?
Pretty much, yeah. I can remember being like 4 years old, maybe, and standing at the doorway of a woodworking shop that was in my neighborhood, just watching the guys work and smelling the wood, and I was hooked then.
And I read that you come from a family of craftsmen, so to speak, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, you can kind of swing that mic a little bit towards you more if you would like. There you go.
Let's see here, get this down. I grew up in a family of carpenters, so it's like I was on the job site from a really early age.
So you're not one of those guys who's afraid of tools.
No, tools are cool.
And woodworking, like in the sense of building houses, or like more of the fine craftsmen that we
building houses, driving bulldozers.
Okay. Oh, so like serious job sites. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. That's pretty sweet.
I didn't start at 4, but I did start fairly early. My father built houses, and we moved multiple times. He was always building a house, and we were moving. We were buying a house that was run down, remodeling it. So I was always helping him with that type of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I never ever knew that about you.
Really?
Are you shitting me?
No, I'm not shitting you.
Wow.
Well, let me preface this by saying the first house that I remember truly living in, we stayed in until I was probably 12. Okay, so the majority of my childhood, my elementary years, was in this house.
Okay.
And then my dad got a great job and decided he was going to build his dream home. And so I was right there. It was my father. He had it framed by a local construction company, but then we did the rest of it. It was me, my father, my grandfather did all the piping. And
You mean plumbing?
I'm sorry, did a lot of the plumbing, and then a friend of ours did like the gas piping, right?
Oh, okay.
So I was just there every day. I'd sweep. I was like the groundhog. I was the helper, you know. And then we built that house one summer, and at the end of the summer, he went to go sign the final paperwork, and they said, "Hey, congratulations!" And then he went to work, and his work said, "Hey, congratulations, you're laid off."
Oh, wow.
The same day that he signed the papers with the bank. So we lived in that house that we built, his dream home, over the winter. And then that spring we sold it.
Because you needed the money.
Yeah, I mean, he was out of a job. He was out of a really, really good paying job. And he ended up working for the construction company that framed that house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so then we bought a rundown farmhouse. We added to it, and, you know, we did everything from pouring concrete to finish work, timber framing, all that stuff. So I had a rough idea of carpentry. And so I've never been afraid of doing projects and things like that.
I'm very
Getting
afraid.
your hands dirty and just...
Yeah. Grab a power tool, and I'm also not afraid to ask, how the fuck does this work? So when we walked into when Todd and I went into your studio, your workshop, because your studio is kind of your living space on the second floor, correct?
Right, yeah. Live above it.
And your artwork, like the tabletop and some of these pictures here, it's actual functional woodworking art, right?
Yeah. I went to school and got an art degree. I got a major in photography and did sculpture in school. So it's just been in my blood. And there's an eye. I don't know how. I don't know whether I got it from being a photographer, probably more so, but just as far as balance and line, that it's just fun to play with.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't think of wood as, I can play with it, because people think of it as, well, that's fine. I make that cut. Oh, shit. I can't make that piece bigger anymore because I just cut it to 12 inches. There's no way it's going to go back to 13. But you take ideas and then you lay them out with plywood. I mean, you really take pieces of wood to lay out your models, correct?
Right. Yeah. Just draw things up full scale.
When we were there, you were still working on Windows. Have you got that problem solved yet?
I wish I could say yes.
Because we never did come back, and that was 2 winters ago. This is the second winter that we said, "Hey, we'll help. Take those windows out if you need some help."
The last time we were in your shop, you had a broken hand. You had a cast on your
that's
hand.
right.
That was the bicycle accident.
The bicycle accident.
Yeah.
And
women.
Tell me about it.
And I was really wanting to come in because I love just learning more skills and how exactly do you use very simple, like a hand plane, for instance. Walking into your shop and seeing this huge area on the wall dedicated to just hand planes. Walking through your space is kind of like walking through a museum in some regards.
When I first started, I was really foolish enough to think I could make furniture by hand and make a living at it, just doing it the way it used to.
Well, that's how dreams start, though. Right? I mean, you're passionate about something.
That's also how reality bites you in the ass and say, that's not going to work.
It did.
And so what do you so you are still doing woodworking that's what you make that's how you make a living.
Mm-hmm.
But you do cabinetry. Is cabinetry kind of like your main gig outside of your art?
No, remodeling's more.
Okay.
It's like my shop is set up for doing solid wood furniture, basically.
Okay.
I cannot compete with cabinet shops.
Okay.
There is so much automation there, and really expensive machinery that you just push the board in and it comes out in 5 different pieces at the other end, and
it's a drawer or something.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
So what I like to do is just solid wood. That's where the fun is.
Well, that picture right there that you see on the television there, you take solid wood and you combine it with plywood, like really beautiful plywood, and like those are plywood legs, correct?
It's true. Yeah.
For that table, the way you interlock the mortise and tenon of the joints, just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And the way you put in the colors and the tiny little insets, like you see, like there's a triangle with a circle, a diamond. It's so much time-consuming, tiny little things that give it a personal, loving feel, unique feel that you're not going to get from somebody throwing something through.
Those aspects come from the time when I tried to do everything by hand, because you had to learn the mechanics of how wood joints work and how to do them. And so once you learn how to do something like that by hand, then you're not tied into just what a machine will do for you. You can think about, okay, I want to put these two pieces of wood together, and I don't have a router bit to do it, so what other alternatives are there here?
Right,
and
right.
That's
so it almost leads
the
you
joy.
It leads you to the creativity, not having those automated things. I mean, you have to think outside the box. Oh, interesting.
I actually think that the more automated things get, the more advanced tools get, the dumber we get, because there's table
so much.
Well, yeah, there's table saws out there that do so much. There's people that have no clue about woodworking, and they can go get a router table and start knocking stuff out. That is it beautiful and artistic and precise and just dead nuts on. It can be close. You can do a lot of stuff. A dummy could make cabinetry.
I'm not sure I could, to be honest.
I tell you what, you pull up the new Yankee Workshop.
Oh,
On YouTube, Norm Abrams, he shows you exactly how to make cabinetry, and you're like, oh shit, you know what? I'll make some cabinets for my garage, and if they turn out okay, maybe I'll make some cabinets for my kitchen. But it's because the tools have become so precise and so good that
and easy to use.
Right, but it takes away this learning.
If Norm doesn't have a tool to do it, he doesn't do it.
See, I was going to ask you this question. If you were, what side of the Norm Abrams fan club were you on? Were you on the people that were like, oh, it's good that his show's not on anymore? Or...
Well, Norm is still on This Old House, I believe.
I think that's over with.
Often.
Well, and This Old House is still going.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and one of the guys on the other day was using a planer. And then what did I see that at? I saw somebody who had gotten Barnwood Builders.
Barnwood Builders, okay.
Some guy he was walking through like an old like Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
And saw a hand planer and thought, oh, that's awesome. The guy's like, yeah, it's been here forever. You know, it's about 50 years old, and it was brand new, untouched. So he put the blade in backwards, so it had never been used. And he got some really incredible cast iron planer that he had found on a shelf somewhere.
A hand plane.
A hand planer, yeah.
With a 1920s price tag on it?
I don't know.
Yeah, that would be great if they could, right?
Yeah.
But you have a collection of hand planes. That was some of them are... And correct me if I'm wrong. I took it as some of them are for use, but some of them are, they're old and antique-y.
Well, they're old and antique-y, but they have a purpose. It's like also back there in the past, I've done a lot of antique restoration with really genuinely nice antiques, not just golden oak stuff. And people would bring things to me, and I'd have to recreate a molding. And so all of those planes are specific cuts, and they're all graduated sizes. So if you need, a half-inch half round, you pick up that plane. If you need a 3/4 inch half round,
a completely different plane.
Okay. Good God Almighty!
So you don't have a shaper.
Oh, There's a shaper. There's
of
course, shaper in the back of the shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
but there's
There's some limitations.
And just for
how much time we want to spend in this project.
And there's, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, a shaper is like a very large, very powerful router table. Correct?
You turn it on and you step back.
You turn it on, step back. And,
they're scary.
they are so powerful that accidents could happen.
Do happen.
Right? Do happen. And you have to know where your body positioning is incredibly important. Understanding how wood reacts to the rotation of the blade. All that stuff. Binding, kickbacks. You got to have some balls. Shit happens, and you got to have some balls to be doing what
Matt has a pretty sweet 100-year-old cast iron.
Not 100-year-old.
I thought you said it was 100 years old.
1950s.
Okay.
It's a 1950s cast iron,
64,
Sears and
65
Roebuck's, Carpenter's table saw.
Huh?
Right?
Yeah.
One of my coworkers had it in his garage, and he had gotten a brand new table saw, paid a couple $1,000s for his new one, and he said, "Hey, you don't have a table saw. You've always said that you would like to get a table saw so you can do some more stuff." I said, "Yeah, I'd love to get a table saw." He goes, "I have one." So I show up. He shows me. It's pitted with rust. You know, it's really old. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this work? So I built a whole bench, a big, huge rolling bench, bought a new fence system so that it was nice and true to the blade, parallel with the blade, so that I could get exact. I took this old 1950s table saw and turned it into a cabinet saw.
Well, the older cast iron Sears stuff is really good.
Solid.
And it's, you can pick it up for a song.
And to see those pits, like the pitted out from rust, to me, it just gives it character. And,
Sure.
and like when I see it, I'm like, yeah, man, if this table saw could talk, how many dumbasses touched it?
How many fingers were lost?
How many fingers possibly were lost?
Did you hear people were? I forget which company is being sued by somebody who lost a finger on a blade, and they're suing them because the technology is available out there for that blade dropping stuff. So,
saw stop,
because the technology is out there, and this company isn't making it part of their.
Well, saw stop is a proprietary thing.
But that's. I think it's ridiculous. This person cut their finger off and said, "Well, the technology is available out there. It should be on your saw."
Well, that's just like somebody suing because their coffee was too hot.
Yeah, I agree.
Or the thief that breaks into the house but locks themselves into the garage and all they can eat is dog food for a week. Suing and winning. I mean, there's tons of ridiculous stories about lawsuits, but yeah, you're right. And by the way, Saw Stop is an amazing saw. Have you ever seen those videos for Saw Stop?
It's crazy.
Yes, I wouldn't stick my finger in it.
I know,
absolutely
I wouldn't
not.
either, but man, is it convincing.
But if you were to slowly, I think I'd be dumb enough
to try.
if there was a Kickstarter, if we started a Kickstarter and there was enough people that would donate to me to actually try to do it, because the reason why I say give me money to do it is because when you do that, when you trip that mechanism in that saw, it ruins the lock, and you have to purchase a new lock. Okay, so that when that saw blade is spinning so fast, it drops down and this lock mechanism shoves into the blade, and it crumples and ruins the locking mechanism.
Wow!
Right.
So every time that happens, you have to replace that system. So it's kind of expensive if the accident happens, but it's totally worth it. I would totally pay for that a second time than to.
But there's a YouTube out there where the inventor of it actually does that.
He actually takes his finger into it.
Yeah, he practices with a couple of hot dogs
and then does it.
I've seen the hot dog parts. I haven't seen the trying the other part. That'd freak me out bad.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take any chances.
Well, you don't shove your hand in there for sure.
But I mean, that's the thing. But it's supposed to. That's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to be able to like accidentally go put your hand in the blade and it stop.
You're right. It is. But if we were to talk the pros and cons of Saw Stop in particular, you can't run treated wood through Saw Stop. You can't run wet wood through SawStop because it's the moisture
Oh, gotcha.
that sets it off. It's the moisture that sets it off. So when the hot dog hits the blade, it's the moisture that drops the blade down.
That's still unreal.
So you're
Push a damp board through your saw, and the saw stop happens, and you go spend another $500.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm almost 100% certain that that's exactly how it works. Right.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, that's to me, that's the only way it could sense the difference between flesh and wood.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
yeah. So for me, I'm pushing wood through the table saw, whether it's wet or dry. I don't give a fuck. So SawStop wouldn't work great for me, but I would rather my kids practice on something like a SawStop.
Right.
And Metro High School has one.
They have a SawStop?
I'm pretty sure they have one. I looked in there the other day, and I'm pretty sure that they had a SawStop, which was great. Every high school, if they have a woodworking class, should have something
probably
like
have
that.
something like that.
But Jesus Christ, just about every tool in a woodworking shop, it is meant to shave away wood.
Right.
What's that going to do to your flesh?
Exactly.
If you're not paying attention?
boy, in junior high school, a guy lost the tip of his finger in woodworking shop, and our teacher put it in a bottle of formaldehyde and hung it above the table saw.
Fuck. That's
Reminder. Great reminder.
Yeah, back now you get fired for doing that, but that's a perfect idea. What a great idea. Well, my dad just saw the top of his thumb off not too long ago.
Did he really?
Yeah.
What was he doing?
He had just bought some new, what's the saw that you pull it down and it just kind of sits on the top of a table.
It's a miter saw.
A miter saw.
Sure.
Yeah, he had a brand new miter saw, so a brand new sharp blade, was using it.
Oh, he was probably holding it like this and he brought the blade
not
down.
Not paying attention.
Ouch.
Yep, and his friend looked around until she found it, and they went to the hospital, but it was not enough.
I had a guy. Now, even tools that have safety mechanisms, every tool nowadays has so many safety mechanisms in place to make it as safe as possible. But
or to save them from the liability of dumbasses.
Sure, or to say that they did.
Yeah.
But there still are cases where we're human beings and we remove those safety. I worked with a guy who came running up to me holding his hand saying, "Get my fucking fingers. I'll meet you at the front." And he took off. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And so me and a few other people went back into where the area that they cut wood at. And his fingers, 3 of them, were like 60 feet away from the saw. Because he had removed the safety guards. He was using the tool, the saw, in a way that was not meant to be used.
God, people
and he was
so fucking dumb.
What he wanted to do was put a half moon, a shaving, out of a 2x4, right? He wanted to put a groove in it. Mm-hmm. So what he did was he took this radial arm saw, brought it out, turned it, and it was designed to turn so that you could rip plywood and things like that. So he turned it, and then he raised it way up. He raised the blade off the cutting surface.
I've done this one.
No, you did not do this one. The blade is moving in a clockwise fashion, and he went to go push. He put the 2x4 underneath, and he was holding it down with his hand, with his right hand. And with his left hand, now mind you, he removed the safety guards. This wouldn't have happened if the safety guards would have been left in.
Right.
He slowly cranks the blade down. Right?
Yeah.
As soon as the blade hits the 2x4, the teeth cut into the 2x4 and zip the 2x4, shoots the 2x4 across the room. And when it dug in and shot the 2x4 across, he left his hand on the 2x4 and it shot his hand across and it cut off 3 of the 4 fingers. Mm. But it was instant. Boom.
Right.
He never got those 4 back.
Oh, he didn't.
I'm sorry. He never got the 3 back. He never got the 3 back.
I thought you found. Did you not find?
I know we found them.
Were they found them?
But just because you find a digit and you get it, and you get it back to the person, and you, no matter. I mean, we tried to put it in a bag, and then we put that bag into a bag of ice so that the fingers weren't actually touching ice.
Right.
You know, we tried to preserve it the best we could. We had EMTs that worked at the place. and they still could not reattach his fingers.
Well, maybe it wasn't a clean cut either. It was super jagged.
No. It was super clean.
Oh.
Super clean. Instant. But I'm just saying, even with safety guards, power tools in woodworking, they're so powerful that you cannot be a dumbass. And the best way to go about doing stuff is to have practical application by watching others use these tools. And if you don't know how, go to YouTube. They'll show you how to properly use them. Or, like Tom, he invited us to go help him out, which I told my wife over and over again how much I would love to go there and hang out.
We're on for this summer.
We are on for this summer. Is that okay?
Awesome. Are we going to get the windows done too?
I'm ready for one. Yeah.
You're ready for one?
Mm-hmm.
How now when we're talking about the windows, Tom, explain to everybody, like, you purchased a building on Main Street, Mechanicsville?
In Mechanicsville.
Okay.
It's a brick, I think 50s, 1850s, 1860s.
1860s.
Vintage.
And you've had to replace everything that's wood in there?
Well, yeah. The place was a hole in the ground, basically. When I bought it, if I was told by the mayor, if the sale didn't go through, they were going to start proceedings for condemning the place. And had I known what I know now,
would you not have tackled that big of a project?
I would have probably gotten the trailer down by the river. Yeah.
So the main floor of your building, that's your workshop. That's your woodworking workshop.
Right. About
The
1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet. The second floor is your residence. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that picture or that table is located.
There's the
That's a hall.
shot from the loft.
Because this is a stairwell right here, right?
Uh-huh.
And this goes down. You can go around the corner, and the living room's down that hallway.
Right.
Okay.
But nothing is traditional. I don't. When I walked into your place, I didn't see. Here's some square corners. There's the bullnose corners. You know, the traditional what's in style right now.
Almost art. I want to say Art Deco ish.
How would you describe?
You know, kind of like the curves and some of the kind of the flowing lines.
After I left the antique furniture behind and the ex-wife, I got into mid-century furniture, and so a lot of the design concepts came from that kind of mindset. 50s modern, and
that table there.
That table right there. Tom, we're going to take that table. We're just going to take it. We're going to take the design, something close to that.
Yeah.
And we're going to mimic it for our new podcast table.
We're going to build our podcast table this summer.
Oh, yeah.
For hopefully the Kickstarter campaign will come through. We'll meet our
goal of
10,000 and find a spot for the studio. And we're going to have a nice big round table.
For us all. So it'll be easier to shoot, it'd be easier to talk and things like that. So
yeah, and
we love this. And so I wanted to use barnwood, some reclaimed barnwood. And so I thought I should be able to find that living in eastern Iowa.
Do you ever work with reclaimed barnwood?
I just did a vanity for some gal here in Cedar Rapids out of old fir.
Oh, wow.
And kind of sanded it down so it was smooth, but still had the rough texture to it, and made up plaster of Paris and put over it to get into the cracks of the wood, and then stained it and finished it from there.
Oh, wow.
It really turned out nicely. Not quite my aesthetic. It's like I was real happy when it left the shop.
So you don't. There's a lot of people. Myself, a friend of mine. We love woodworking. There's something about it that gets me hard. There's something arousal. There's something arousing.
Is it manly?
And completely manly about woodworking. The smell of the sawdust. I made my daughter, I made her a bed this last summer. I've done different woodworking projects, and my buddy helping me make this bed, we could be completely exhausted at the end of the day, glue all over our hands, sawdust everywhere, huge fucking mess. And we had the best day ever because you're making something.
Well, and it's so direct. I mean, you can. That's when you lose those fingers. You can't be off someplace else. You're concentrating on just what is at hand, and there are so many ways to misread a tape. You have to have full concentration just on just making the pencil marks so you can make the saw cut. And so you're absolutely living in the moment when you're doing it well, and it's almost a meditation.
Yeah, absolutely. I would completely agree. It's like if you were to mark a 2x4 24 inches with a pencil, and I were to mark a 2x4 at 24 inches with a pencil.
What the fuck are you trying to say?
No. What I'm saying is the more you do something,
sure.
Like I know that what Tom was just saying, the way you mark something on a tape measure is unique. If I mark something knowing that my saw blade has to be just to the right of that pencil mark.
Right.
If I still see the pencil mark, but barely, I know I'm dead nuts on 24 inches. If you mark it, you might be marking it thinking, Matt's got to completely remove that pencil mark. It's a 16th of an inch or a 32nd of an inch.
Right.
But all those little
30 seconds add up.
And now you get something that's sloppy as opposed to something that is
I'm just going to put it out there and say
professional.
that I know to saw off the other side of it.
I know, but if you were to give me that, I might read it. I wouldn't have in my mind what you have in your mind on where to cut.
Sure.
Where to put the blade. So that's where
Gotcha.
it becomes individual.
And as far as working on a construction site, when you got a group of guys who everybody's on the same page as far as marking that board and giving you the measurements where one guy can just be cutting and two guys can be installing wood, it's
like magic.
It is.
It really goes together fast.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said I want to delve in a little bit more into when you were younger. So your family were home builders, and so is that what you did? Like summers growing up, is helping build houses when school was out, and you do that in the summer times, in and out of summers after college, or?
Well, I started when I was 12. My brother-in-law was a home builder, and it's like whenever I needed money, I always had work. He was a great teacher as far as a good work ethic. Bruce was definitely old school. It's like you'd work until it hurt, and then you'd work a little bit harder, and it didn't hurt anymore. It's like
Those nerves are now dead.
And so, did you always see the construction as something that you were doing that was a good paying job, like you knew good people did, and then the artistic side was something that you kind of developed over your years in college, or were you always pretty artistic?
Well, I was always pretty artistic. I never had a whole lot of training, though. It's I don't know. It's innate, honestly. The talent. I went to a high school that didn't have any arts program.
Oh wow!
And it was just a school that was concentrating on turning out future doctors and lawyers.
Okay, private school.
Mm-hmm. So, I was a misfit, definitely. But had I known when I got out of high school that I could have gone to, Rhode Island School of Design and learned furniture design, I would have been all over it. But I didn't realize those kind of opportunities were out there.
Right.
Okay.
And so I did photography just as kind of a default because I actually looked for work in cabinet shops instead of just going to school right away. And that was just before maybe 5 or 6 years before the rebirth of furniture making, art furniture here in the U.S.
Wow. This wood here that's bent, how do you bend wood like that?
Well, that's a cold bend. It's layers of 1/8-inch plywood that's bent around a form and has a piece of steel on it to keep it all tucked in together. And you just clamp it up and wait for the glue to dry, and then...
Oh, wow.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, just so I can kind of paint this picture a little bit. It's multiple layers.
Right.
It's multiple layers of thin layers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like you're making your own plywood almost. You're just putting layer after layer.
Right.
Gotcha.
And so to have that form stuck in one shape, then layer after layer after layer, and you squeeze all that together. There's that, and then there's the heated,
steam
bending. Steam bending.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the Rush version?
The Rush version.
Like it's rushed. You have to, if you're trying to kick things out, is that people do? They steam the wood to bend it.
No, it's just two different.
Just two different ways of doing it.
Just two different ways, two different effects. It's like you couldn't steam bend that particular shape and repeat it. Steam bending is much more. What's the word I'm looking for? It's problematic. There's spring back that you have to account for.
Yeah, once it dries out, right?
And each individual piece of wood is going to steam a little bit differently.
Oh,
depending on the
grain
way of the
pattern.
grain. Yeah.
okay. So if you do the cold bending, then every piece is going to be the same thing because you have the same form.
Right.
Okay. Hey, I'm catching on.
Yeah,
Just a little bit at a time. It's very exciting.
Do you look at plywood as being a really awesome material to work with because of the different ways, the strength of it, the durability of it, or do you look at it as the dumbing down of furniture building to where people will rush to use plywood instead of hardwood?
Well, it's both ways. It's to use it as I've used it in these pieces of furniture for legs, where
they remind me of like musical notes.
There you go.
Okay, as on the picture you have up, why I used it there was because of those straight lines. I wanted that straight line so that it carries a line right down the leg. But it is extremely difficult to work with because it is so fragile. That edge, that is the finish edge, is a 64th of an inch thick, and there's a hell of a lot that can damage it. And once you get it to that point and round it over and get a couple of coats of finish on it, it kind of toughens up a little bit, but it's still not like a solid piece of wood. I mean, if you were to make those legs out of oak and run a chair into it, you'd have a dent in it. If you run a chair into this, it will really damage the surface.
I see.
Okay. I kind of took the use of plywood in some of your stuff as like taking what is normally seen as like an industrial material and turning it into something artistic.
Well, there is that, but it's why I've used it really is for the line.
And is that Baltic birch that you're using? Because Baltic
I've bought Baltic birch.
Baltic birch, depending on the grade that you get, is some of the preferred plywood that cabinet makers will use, especially some of the YouTube channels that I've watched, that they solely work with Baltic birch because of there's no voids in the layers.
There's no voids, and the leaves of the veneer are really thin. There's a lot. I don't know exactly how many layers of veneer there are, but you go to Menards and there might be 5 layers.
Right.
But in that one, we're talking, at least 10, 15?
I'd say almost 20.
Yeah.
Now, there's 2 pieces for that leg, correct?
There's actually 3.
3 pieces.
There's a 1/2 inch, a 3/4, and a 1/2 inch.
Okay, so the 3/4 is in the middle where that blue
Right.
leg comes through. Now, for everybody who's listening to this, to really get the full impact of this podcast, it is cool to listen to, but go to YouTube and watch it, because the images that we're showing you of this table, of the cabinets, it's just beautiful, and it's things that there's other. Do you ever get on YouTube and get sucked into any of the woodworking channels on YouTube?
Rarely. Yeah.
He's too busy.
Well, I could give him that. Plus, his lady runs Trees Forever, and she's really busy. You guys are very busy on your off time. You have, what was the sweat lodge?
Kina?
Kina. What was the tribe? What kind of sweat lodge was it?
Ojibwe?
Ojibwe, right? And she just came back recently, correct? Last October.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't recent. A few months ago.
We missed it though.
I wanted to come back and do it again.
We weren't invited.
Did she? Do you know? Did she ever watch the podcast that we did with her? Do you have any idea?
I don't know.
You didn't ask her. That's okay. That's not your job. Your job is to make really cool shit, and you're doing that. One of the
is this the birch plywood right here? By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all the
that's really thick.
Structure of that is made out of birch plywood.
And so this too, the yellow.
The yellow, yeah.
And so you laid down all those single layers of birch veneer to make that bend, and you can buy like large stacks of.
Well, I buy 1/8 inch.
Okay.
So, and that is like 3 leaves of veneer in an 1/8 inch.
Okay.
So then those are bent around, and 6 of them are put together to make 3/4.
Okay.
So if you have the capability of making a good form,
right,
then you can.
That's a whole nother aspect. Before you even get into woodworking, you're building forms to make sure the wood's bent the right way to use it in the project you're using.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
how did you make the form?
Just
some
you had to throw it on the bandsaw.
Just some metal. Oh, you did it with the bandsaw.
Right.
You drew it out, and you figured out what you wanted on the bandsaw.
Right.
But didn't you say you put metal in it?
Well, the intriguing part, if you can get the top
the top view
where you're looking down on it, the key to this piece of furniture is that triangle in the center, because that is actually a stack of wood, and within that there are 3 captured nuts. The hardest part of this table was figuring out how to get those 3 arms of the armature to be strong and stable.
Okay.
So those nuts that are on there are more than decorative. They actually hold it together.
Wow.
And then there are pins that you can't see that go into that triangular piece to give it strength laterally. So that was about 2 days, maybe 3 days of just scratching my head, figuring out how am I going to put this together.
Wow.
Now, to take everything else that I've set aside, take everything else I've said, just throw it away for a second. Woodworking, to me, is possibly the greatest thing to increase your brain. The greatest thing to exercise for your brain. You're using
problem solving kind of?
You're using problem solving. You're using math. You're trying to figure out arcs, radiuses. You're trying to figure out how can I take this tool and repurpose it for this purpose. Woodworking is an absolute I know you're making art, but when anybody does woodworking, it is an art. There's so many cool little things that somebody's taking away. It's kind of like, I want my daughter to learn music. I want her to be in band, primarily. Not because I want to listen to her play the trumpet. That's not it. I would love to say that I'm that great. Yeah, I'd love to say I'm that great dad who loves to listen to his daughter play the trumpet. I don't. It's primarily because I've heard that reading music and playing music helps the mind understand math better. A quarter note, a half note, understanding those things. Doing math, you're constantly throughout a project saying, okay, this is my measurement. How do I find half of that? You're constantly dividing by 2, or you're constantly dividing by 3. How can I get 3 equal spaces here? And doing that, you don't realize possibly that you're doing it. You might not put the importance on it at the time, but you are doing extremely difficult math. How am I going to figure out how am I going to get across or solve the problem that I have? How did I get that perfect fucking circle right there? And how did I get other perfect little circles? How did I get that amazing triangle? And how am I going to lock that together and give it the strength to hold up to where people can put shit on this table and still make it beautiful?
Right.
There's been studies with musicians and their brains, and different parts of their brains will get stronger and larger. I wonder what happens with woodworkers.
That would be amazing to me.
Because they say a lot of people like conductors of like orchestras are like mathematical geniuses, like engineer level mathematicians.
Really?
Because there's the structure of an entire orchestra and knowing all the pieces that are working together and the beats, which is all math.
Right.
That's what they say. So I bet you woodworking's got to be pretty close.
Have any friends down at the university hospital? We could get a study going.
There you go.
Get an MRI.
If he keeps his fingers, we'll have long enough to be able to study his brain.
Well, I think that would be. I think a lot of times people downplay the intelligence of woodworkers. Oh, you're a woodworker? Oh, you do construction? I think sometimes people look down on, oh, you're just a woodworker. Oh, you're just a construction guy. Whereas those people are doing skills that you wish, you prayed that your children would excel at in school. And these guys are doing it every day without even fucking having to write it down. They can do these computations in their heads because they're constantly looking at their tape measure. They're constantly visualizing the projects. How are these pieces going to lay together? What material do I need to buy so that I can, if I have one 4x8 sheet of plywood, how many different cuts can I get out of that?
Well, how are we going to get our kids to do this? I mean, it isn't a really valued skill, but it's something that can't be outsourced.
And you need a shop. I mean, that's for me. The first thought is I need a place to go. I mean, and obviously it's his house.
Yeah,
because we're always here anyway. So I mean, they're going to be in his basement or his garage all the time. But I mean, and that's kind of I mean, I had a friend who wanted to get into woodworking. His dad was really wealthy, and so his dad just went and bought like drill press, table saw, bought like 5 or 6 pieces of equipment, had them all delivered from Sears and placed in the garage. And he just never, I mean, that was a fad for him, but they were super wealthy, and so it didn't really matter. But I mean, I guess you have to start with the ability to be able to do something. I always thought turning bowls would be something that I would love to try.
Real quick, and this is another neat thing about YouTube and woodworking in particular right now. I'm glad you brought that up. Go to YouTube and type in table saw bowl turning. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Say, what's it called again?
Table saw bowl turning. And what right there, the second one down, right there. And the third one. We will not show this video on the podcast, but we can watch it a little bit. What this guy did was he made a jig. And this is the fucking awesome shit about woodworking, is that people make jigs to fix problems, right? You'd have to turn it down on the TV.
Okay. I'll just turn it down right there.
Oh, you can. Okay. So basically what traditionally people would have to make a wooden bowl on a lathe. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. That's muted out, but he's going to start doing it. You're just going to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. You can full size it so it's easier for Tom to see. But basically what he did was he made a jig, connected the block of wood that he had glued together onto a drill so that it can spin at a high speed, and then he slowly brings up the saw blade as it's spinning. And he uses a jig to make it as safe as possible and something that you can
Yeah, that does
replicate
not,
over and over and over and over and over again.
that does not look haphazard and slapped together. That looks like he put a lot of time and energy into that.
There is such a whole economy on YouTube now of people that are making those patterns, making those devices, those templates, those jigs, and saying, "Look how good this works." Tom, if you can see, he's got 2 pieces of wood that support the blade on either side so that the blade does not bend. Okay. And he just has the teeth of the blade
showing. Yeah, I can see that.
So he slowly, methodically rotates that block of wood. And like I said, there's a whole economy on YouTube now where people are coming up with jigs, and then they sell the plans because they use Google SketchUp, something that's very, very simple to use, cool. And then they sell those plans to people. So
when we get done, you'll have to take Tom out and show him your industrial-sized jig that you built and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah,
and by the way, I'm going to redo my table saw cabinet because, you build something, and then you're like, oh, I could have done that better.
You could have done it better.
I could have done that better. That just doing something. My wife goes, honey, can't you just buy some cabinets and then throw the cabinets together and put your table saw on there? Yeah, I could do that. But where's the fun in that?
Right.
If I
want to park in this. I want to park in the driveway for 3 months. Please.
I wanted a car to fall off the roof of my house. A car to fall. I want a meteor to fall out of the sky, hit this thing, and it not be wrecked. It's well made.
Yeah.
But look at that.
Wow.
If you don't have a lathe at home, here's a smart son of a bitch who decided, how can I turn a bowl if I don't have a wood lathe at home? So he does the outside, right? Then he turns around, flips it upside down, and shows you how to make the inner part of the bowl. Now, it's limited to the diameter of the saw blade that you're using.
Right.
You can only make certain dimensions of bowls. But it's one more thing that you can make now that you couldn't make before. I mean, look how great that is. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that little project there,
I don't know. I'm way more of a traditionalist.
You're not impressed by this.
You can do one shape.
That's right. You are limited. You can only do one shape. You're right.
And it took me a long time to learn how to use a lathe. The learning curve is pretty steep on the tool, but it is the one tool in the shop that is fun.
Really?
To use.
I thought when I used lathes in woodworking class when I was a kid, I loved it. Even the metal lathe, turning like hammer handles and stuff like that, I thought was such a blast.
Man. You know what? When I think of a lathe, I go, "Oh, great, a table leg." What are you gonna make now? A table leg. What are you gonna do for your third project? Maybe a table leg.
I have reproduced it. This is a really fun thing to do in the carpentry spectrum, just restoring Victorian porches and exterior details.
Oh, those huge posts.
Well, the posts, the spandrels, and all that decorative elements that you see in the peaks of houses or running around porches.
Sure.
I mean, I did reproduce porch posts for a house in Mount Vernon, and they were like 2-inch square posts, square at either end and then turned in the middle. And I think I had 150 of them to make.
Oh my God.
Holy mackerel.
And it's like, by the time I was finished, I was kicking one out every 15 minutes.
And you were dreaming about them at night.
No, it was like okay.
Do you have a pattern? Do you have a pattern for something like that?
You have a set of dividers.
Oh, okay.
So that as the wood is spinning, you put the dividers on them and it'll make a mark. So that mark signifies where a cut is, and then you have calipers so
right?
that you know how.
Still.
And you have a half a dozen calipers and 2 or 3 dividers, and you just, I mean...
Just knock out the sections, huh? Yeah, that sounds real fucking easy. Jeez Louise.
Now, one of the reasons why now you can see the elementary design,
the
limitation of that bowl. But again, it's one thing that carpenters have that a lot of people don't have. It's a kind of a lost art. And if you're not working with wood, and I'm sure you can do it with other things, a few other things, but wood in particular, once you start doing stuff with wood, you start experimenting and trying new things, and that's some of the really cool stuff about woodworking. Now, I would have bothered you. I would have been a nuisance to you. I would have, because you have a business. You have to get stuff done. You can't just teach Matt wood shit all day long. You can't. But I would be out. My kids would go to school, and I would drive to see you, and I'd be like, okay, what are you teaching me today? You know what? Maybe I will just do that. Whatever project you're working on, I can just I can be a gopher again.
Wow.
At 40 years old, I would go back to doing what I thought I hated at 16 years old, but that's when I learned stuff. I could be a gopher, and I could watch you work.
Mm-hmm. Well, back when
maybe help you.
I was the gopher. It's like that's what it is. It's a learning experience, and when you can start to put together, that's when I started to move up in the trades. Is like, I knew my brother-in-law was going to give me the shitty job, so
nice.
I'd look ahead and get, okay, there's this job I can do that I'd rather do, so I'll just go start doing that.
Right.
What would you say is the one, if somebody were to start, I can't even begin to get a shop because I have no space for it, but what's the one tool do you think is like, if you want to start doing simple projects and doing things kind of around the house like that, what would you say is the one power tool? Because I have drills and I have hammers and things like that.
Well, for small stuff, a decent bandsaw and a router.
Really?
Yeah. Table saw takes up a lot of space.
Yes, it does. It can.
And for just small incidental stuff, you can get a good straight cut with a bandsaw.
Okay.
And plus you have the versatility of doing shapes.
Oh, sure. And I don't know if I've seen an infomercial for these for a long time, but for a while there was like these as seen on TV.
Shopsmith.
Is it Shopsmith? Is that what it is?
It's
okay.
Waste of money.
It's just like
are you kidding? Stop it now.
These allegedly.
Hey, you know what? Fine woodworking. Are there any woodworking magazines that you love?
Fine woodworking's good.
Okay. I also have Shopsmith. Mm-hmm. I have that. There's a couple of other. What about this?
Oh, they make good stuff. They're inventive people. They make a good product.
That's Rockler. Rockler Woodworking and Hardware. Rockler is another person who, if you are retarded in a certain skill, Rockler is one of those great manufacturers or magazines that they've created jigs to say, oh, hey, stupid, come here. If you want to do something and not really think about it too much and take all the guesswork out of it, there you go. Slap that on your piece of wood, take your router to it, and then you'll be all right. Rockler is really...
Well, routers scare me too. I'm so unfamiliar with some of these power tools.
Woodsmith, those guys are really good, and they're right there in Des Moines.
Really?
They're producing a weekly TV show. They have an online presence where every week they'll send you a new tip as far as some little jig or some new way to cut a board. Mm-hmm. They're really good people. And, it's like, I do this as an art, and, I've done a lot of it. There's so many people that, are either they like their job or they don't like their job, but they come home and they have a shop in their basement, and they can go down there and they can make a clock, and it's not going to get in a museum someplace, but it's a good piece of work, and they can bring it upstairs and live with it or give it to their kids, and there's such a sense of satisfaction there. It's easy to be kind of elitist and say, well, it ain't art, But there's really something to say for just that satisfaction and release.
Or it's art to them. You know.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought a lot about, and I'm still going to do it with my daughter's bed. She actually helped me make it. She didn't help me cut any of it. She's only 10 years old, but she liked gluing. So she came out. She said, "Hey, Dad, can I help?" Every night she'd, "Hey, Dad, can I help?" Not right now, honey. We're cutting stuff, or there's a lot of sawdust or whatever. But when it came to assembly, and hey, why don't you put some glue down and we'll put this together and we'll clamp it up? She was a part of that. And what I still want to do, because it's such a solid fucking bed, it's going to be around for a long time. It's not a particle board fall apart type of bed. It's going to be around solid for a long time. Is write a handwritten letter to my daughter about the experience, about what it's like at this time in our lives, and put it inside the bed. Years later, her daughter might use the bed. She might sell it to somebody, you know? She might give it away. She might put it on the corner and give it away. And years later, somebody might pull out this drawer, and on the back of the drawer is a letter from a father to a daughter because I made that bed for her. And that's the same reason I want to make dressers for my kids. You go out to a furniture store now, you can buy something that looks really nice. It looks nice until you touch it. When you touch it, the drawer slides suck ass. They're super cheap. It's really, really thin wood. It's particle board. It's painted nice. The veneer is nice. But the bones.
It's disposable.
You touch it, it's going to fall apart.
And what's your take on like IKEA? Have you ever had IKEA furniture?
I have, and it's it has I like the stuff. I like
it's
the
just
design.
it's different. Yeah, it's kind of different
I like the
design wise.
They've
You can get a whole kitchen for $8,000. I mean, come on.
I'd sooner go to IKEA than Slumberland.
Oh yeah, because you're right. I mean, because the hard part is that even the places like Slumberland or some of the Furniture Row places, you can find good furniture, but man, you have to look, and man, is it super expensive. Right. You might find a couple pieces that you're like, why is this stuff so crazy expensive? Well, it's made a certain way, and that's why it costs so much. All this other stuff is slapped together, and that's why it's inexpensive.
Right.
So,
or if you can mass produce something that would be expensive to the person who's doing one project, but it's mass produced, so now it's cheaper.
Slumberland, I don't get it. I mean, it's like you can go and you can buy a dining room table and 4 chairs, and it'll cost you $600 or $700. Right. Okay. The furniture store is making half of that, at least. It's coming from the other side of the globe.
Right.
How much did it actually cost them to make it? Right. Yeah.
Right.
Now,
That's a good point.
One of the things that I was thinking about for building a new podcasting table was LSL lumber, laminated strand.
Right here.
Oh.
It's right here. It's basically wood chips and glue.
I didn't agree to this yet, just so you know.
But what you'll notice is that that magazine right in front of you, that
right at the top,
that issue has a unique look to it. It kind of gives that look of bamboo, almost.
Well, I'm not against that. I am constantly trying to come up with
this is pretty
different uses for materials.
Yeah, I like that on the screen right there. But so the nice thing about LSL is that it's completely straight. You know, you don't have to worry about it warping. There's no knots in it. It's all usable lumber. So I thought about using that for just a unique look, and then using like a 2-part epoxy to clear coat the top of it, give it like a glass finish.
I would love to carve something into it.
The downside to the LSL is that, it really destroys your blades. It's so hard. There's so much glue in it that, running that through your table saw, it's really going to eat up your blade.
Wow. What's the hardest wood that you work with?
I have done stuff with an African wood called wenge.
Wenge.
Wenge, yeah.
I like that.
And it's black. It's about the consistency of fur as far as the grain. And I made a small cabinet for myself. I was a pipe collector for a while.
It's right here. I will show you.
Okay.
The wenge.
And
talk about these tables too.
I hand plane it to get those little panels, those little slats flat and smooth, because sanding it's like you take a scouring powder or a scouring pad and go over stainless steel, and you just get a bunch of scratches. You don't really.
Oh, gotcha.
But it would take maybe 3 or 4 passes over those panels. I'd have to stop and sharpen my tools.
Really?
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Well, and this is a unique piece of furniture. You smoke pipes, or you did?
I did.
Okay, you stopped.
Yeah,
for health reasons.
I just.
Well, I am looking for a good pipe, so hey, that's pretty awesome. This is so. Is ebony another? I mean, is that a hardwood or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that an African wood, ebony?
It comes from Madagascar, or at least the stuff I did.
Wow. Okay. So again, when you put these inlays in here, was that difficult as well? Was it pretty hard to carve out, or was it really just trying to get this wood planed down to look the right way without, fuzzing up, like you said, scraping it, trying to sand it? Was it hard to cut into to put some of these?
Yeah, it's almost as though the sap has some kind of crystalline structure to it.
Wow.
It's like there's glycerin in there somehow. Glycerin.
And it doesn't get you, and you just can't get a good, nice, clean cut to it?
You get a great cut, but it'll kill the edge.
Oh, of your blades. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
On the other hand, you mentioned a clean cut. If you're trying to do something in like clear white pine, that is really difficult because your tools have to be just absolutely razor sharp, because the wood itself is so soft that if there's any dullness there at all, instead of cutting, it'll crush the wood fibers. So
wow.
That you get this really sloppy edge. It's terrible.
Wow. Do you still have pipes? Mm-hmm. Do you collect them, or you have left over from your days?
Well, what's in the cabinet there? Those were really good ones, and I have some other ones that I've been trying to pedal.
Oh, pedal my way. I'm not kidding.
Hey,
I'm not kidding.
I can totally, Todd. I can totally see you with a big old pipe.
I'm not kidding.
Big old Sherlock Holmes pipe.
That'd be kind of cool. But no, I'm seriously. I'd like to find a small pipe that I know has been used and is cool.
Now, I will say, out of all the different smoking smells, a pipe smoke is the most
aromatic.
Every woman that I've talked to, they associate the pipe smell with like a grandfather,
right,
or something like that, and they like it. You compare that with like a cigarette smell or a cigar smell. Yeah. Nothing comes close to pipe smoke.
Well, it's like most things I get into. I've really got into the esoteric end of pipe smoke. And it's like the English tobaccos, they can't put any artificial flavoring in them.
Oh.
All the flavor that comes from the tobacco has to become its natural materials, and from curing the tobacco. They will press it under and lots of pressure and age, and some of the tobacco, it's sliced. It comes out in these little thin leaves, so that you crush the tobacco up in your hand and then put it in the pipe.
Oh, wow.
And
is the sweat from your hand have some kind of play on that somehow, or something weird?
That's going too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you were pushing the limits right there, buddy. So I wasn't sure what the hell was going on over there.
What about your
I
tears?
slowly must.
Does the smoke make your eyes well up? And how many tears do you need to drop? 5 drops
make
of
it
tears.
tight,
You need
yeah.
5 children's tears.
But you're right, though. I love the smell of tobacco, of pipe tobacco.
Completely.
Well, it must be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, let me ask you why. Because maybe it doesn't. It's not full of shit. Maybe it's not full of flavors and other extra
It could
things
be.
added to it.
The U.S. tobacco, when you go into like a tobacco bowl and there's like these jars of cherry and that's just they just pour all kinds of
Chemicals and
chemicals
whatnots.
in there to
Right.
give it the flavor.
Now, one of the really fascinating things for me anyway for woodworking is mechanisms
Oh,
for woodworking.
you have this table, the pie table.
Oh Jesus! I think there's a. Is
God,
there a
he was
link up
talking
there?
about it.
Todd, do you have a link up there for the round table? No, Unplugged Wood Shop. I would recommend that you check out because that guy does everything by hand.
Oh.
So there's a tabletop that he's making that he has to he has to rip so many boards into thirds, and I'm thinking, oh, he's got to rip some boards. I'm thinking table saw. Instantly, you're gonna put it in table saw. Oh no, hand saw. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? That's gonna take forever. But he does it, and it's beautiful. There's a whole series. There's like 13 of those.
You get pretty
videos.
damn good if you're going to rip out
Where's
that
this
many
guy
boards.
from,
I'm not. Tom Fidgen, I believe, is the name for the YouTube channel. But just beautiful. There's people that just put out gimmicky stuff and jigs and things like that. That guy right there does some really neat woodworking. Also, I came across this because I love the mechanics of woodworking and the mechanisms.
And what was
So-
that called again? The what?
It's the type in round table, the expanding round table. And
Yeah, this is German engineering. It's
oh
gotta
my
be.
God, it's absolute. There's great pictures of it. Pull up any of those pictures to as big as they can get. It's absolutely fascinating. Now, there's some of these expanding round tables that the leaves are separate from the table, right?
That's what
There's
that looks like.
there's another company where the leaves are inherent inside the mechanism,
There
and that's it right there. And as you spin the table, it works the mechanism, and it does it all for you, and it is gorgeous and flawless. I mean, when they spin that around and they finish the spin, you're like, I would have a hard time finding the seams.
This one's pretty cool. I like this
Yeah,
one.
that one is pretty cool. Where do they stow the leaves?
I don't know, Tom. Let's find out.
Well, all right. What website are you at? What are you looking at? You got to remember, not everybody watches
inflatable.
this. Some people.
This is
listen
on
to
treehugger.com.
it. Treehugger.com.
Yeah, because I think it's sustainable.
Transforming furniture. But yeah,
French don't have a-
here's what I was talking about with the
here
super
it
high
is.
gloss.
DB Fletcher's expanding table. So he must make a lot of these tables.
I wonder how much they cost.
That's a good question.
Oh
right
my
there.
God, it's got to be more than I can afford. We would have to do a Kickstarter for just that table. But on YouTube, which you find everything on YouTube. YouTube's absolutely fascinating. You can find people that have tried to recreate these tables, and what you find when they start putting it together is there's so many layers to the table that the table ends up being 5 to 6 inches thick. Because all the leaves and everything is in there.
Oh, sure.
Constantly all anyway.
The making of the Fletcher capstan table.
Right there. Expand that. I will show this because just it moving it's just beautiful. I could just sit there and watch it because it looks like there's like a beer keg, an old beer keg in the middle,
Yeah.
holding it up. How great would that be to have as a podcasting table?
Whoa. Oh, there's your beer keg.
David Fletcher. You old son of a bitch, you. You might, yeah, I don't even, you probably shouldn't even have any audio for that. But anyway, I get really sucked into that. I love these magazines. Shop Notes. Shop Notes. Do you ever get a Shop Note magazine?
No.
Shop Notes is pretty good. Now, are you going to ask me what I would suggest for people to have in their woodworking shop?
Yes, fine.
What would you have?
This is what I would have. I would have a decent, it doesn't have to be expensive, but a decent table saw. A decent table saw, a decent work area.
Bench?
Either a bench or something that you can put out as a temporary bench. There's a bunch of different designs on YouTube. One in particular, let's see if I can pull it up real quick.
Oh my God, look at 962 components, 3,756 fasteners.
Yeah. Now, think of the engineering. And people might not associate engineers with woodworking, but woodworking is just, if they're not engineers, I don't know who are. I mean, that's such a fine difference between shaping something and going, oh, okay, where's the metal part? That's a metal part. All right, that goes there. I think of engineers as just somebody who can draw something up and somebody else puts it together, whereas a woodworker draws it up and puts it together. He makes his own parts. Have you thought about incorporating 3D printers into your designs? Oh,
that sounds old school to me.
Well, I mean, because you can create anything that you really want into your design, and it could be an inlay because you do your own inlays, and those are beautiful pieces also.
Yeah, I may be beyond that. It's like the Sufi table. You know, you guys came out, and I had that drawn up on a piece of plywood. And the only reason I did that was because I had the idea, and I was trying to use SketchUp to do it, and I spent Lord knows how many hours trying to master the program, and I finally got so frustrated I went out and bought another piece of plywood and just started drawing
it by hand.
You know, it's like,
oh yeah,
it's a whole different technology.
Do you buy your wood from somewhere in particular?
There's a really good lumber yard down in Iowa City, Hill Hardwoods.
Okay.
They got a great selection. They have a fair amount of exotics and really good.
Can you ever go down there and find like a slab of wood that they might have pulled from somewhere? Is it all pretty new stuff, or is it all an older kind of wood, do you think?
It's there's no barn boards.
Okay. There you go. No barn boards. Because I was telling him that being from California, I used to go to Half Moon Bay all the time. And it's still a pretty wooded area through there, and you can find people that have these big slabs, big redwood slabs that they've pulled out of the Aptos Mountains, you know, in Santa Cruz, and you can find a big slab of untreated redwood for $500, you know, and it's 6 feet across, and it's got knots, and it's extremely unique. And so I was wondering if there's anywhere like that around here where you can find some of those.
There's a place in Mount Vernon. There's a woodworking shop in Mount Vernon that does, I think you can buy just solid pieces of wood, or they can make unique pieces of wood also. Do you know what the name of that is?
I don't. Elaine Ball and her neighbor are doing that.
So, dude, this table has got to be a fucking fortune. He's hand building each one. My assumption
does not
is,
surprise me.
My assumption is that looks like quite the engineering feat that's going on in this video.
That looks like me in my shop here.
Yeah.
A striped shirt and a nice sweater.
Yeah, I can see an executive paying top dollar for a boardroom table of that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Right now I'm trying to find the mobile woodworking table saw bench from this guy on YouTube, and it's awesome. But that's what I would suggest for somebody, is to have a solid work table.
Very, very important, actually, especially if you're going to do any handwork, because you have to be able to hold
Right.
pieces of wood that you're working on. And if you don't have something that, a good height for you, you're going to kill your back, and just being able to clamp something up quickly and lock it in so you can either cut it with a saw, cut it with a router. You're really fighting an uphill battle.
There is
Look how fast he does this, by the way.
the video on turning the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot quicker than the.
It's just so
Pretty crazy.
so sick.
Jesus, there's so much engineering going on there. Man, oh man, that's nuts. Well, this is better. And it doesn't spin. Who wants spinners? Who wants spinners in their table?
You
Not
don't know
me.
how many people
Right.
have asked me if this table opens up like that one does.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? Oh, I
Well-
guess the aperture kind of feature that it pulls into your thinking, I guess, makes kind of sense.
The
But
the fact that you have segregated each section of that table, running the grain a completely different way, having the seams show so distinctly, I could see why somebody would say, so does this. Does this do some type of magic trick?
I like, and I've told you this before. I just love that yellow dye. And is that like just any other kind? What kind of dye is that? Is that a special kind of wood dye that's super bright yellow like that? I've never seen it before.
There's aniline dyes. There are powdered dyes. I use a water-based one, so you can mix them. The colors of the rainbow. You can get purples and blues, obviously, and greens, and it actually goes into the wood and kind of locks with the wood fibers,
Wow.
so that it gives you a much brighter look to it, because an oil-based stain goes on. It's micro thin, but it covers the surface. So
And is this a deeper kind of dye? Is that what it is? Okay. And then what do you put over the top of that dye? That color? What do you do?
well, that is a water-based varnish,
Okay.
because there's PVCs in it, so it is good to resist ultraviolet light.
Okay. And how about like water stains instead of glass on it and things like that? Is it
Not going to happen.
piece? I'm not allowed to set a glass on it, or it's going to be okay.
It will. It's tough.
Awesome. Okay.
It's very tough.
I love that. Not going to happen. Oh, I guess I can't put the glass down. I have to hold my glass the whole time. Do not put that shit on my table.
I think my buddy and I, we make a pretty good pair when it comes to woodworking, because I hate finishing. I hate sanding, and I hate that in itself. The finish work of woodworking is a skill all on its own. You could be a masterful builder and completely fuck it all up when you go to finish it. Right. Or you could be somebody who has no idea how to put something together or to create it, but you could be a finisher and you can make it look beautiful. You can make it any color you want. You can make it satiny. You can make it as glossy as you want. You can make it robust.
Well, people just getting into it don't realize that almost as much time as you put into building, you're going to spend that much time finishing. Guys will get things together. Guys, gals, people will get things together and figure the project's done, and then we'll get frustrated with finishing and like you say, just blow it at that point because they're not,
Well, and I don't know. I think the patience is probably going to be a big part of it. I think too, it's the finished product. Do you want the finished product to look like shit? That's that. It's that clock that you're talking about. If you want to put some time into it, it may not be the most perfect thing in the world, but if it looks nice, somebody will put it on their mantle, or you give it to your daughter or something like that.
But you know what? Nobody goes into a woodworking project and goes, I really want this to look like shit.
But if you're not, you
know what I mean?
But if you're not going to put in the time to complete it to its full finish, then you are kind of setting yourself up for failure.
A lot of us do that. I do that because I love creating something. I also have a wife, and there's limited space, and I feel like I have to bang this project out in a weekend, or I have to bang it out in one day. And I feel like I can get the pieces cut, I can make the pieces true, to the right sizes, what they're supposed to be. I can try to throw it together, and then I gotta get it moved. I don't have another week to sand it all down and to put this clear coat on, and then sand down that clear coat, and then put another coat down, sand that down again. And I don't. A lot of people don't have that type of patience. The finish work, in my perspective, you have to have so much more patience. Creating something, building something, wham! You can create something in a second, in a heartbeat, in a day. But finishing something to where it's going to last and look beautiful and that you're proud of can take
as much time.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. That's when I'm pricing out a job. Okay, it's going to take me this long to finish it, times 2. Or,
Oh, wow.
it.
Oh, it takes that how long to build, and then you times by 2. Perfect.
I wanted to show one of my favorite. First of all, I love these tables.
That just went off to a gallery in Mineral Point last weekend.
Oh, wow. Very cool. And then I love the keyholes. And this is my favorite. I love that.
You and Shannon.
The inlays.
I love it. Yeah, it's the look at the legs. Look at the inlays here.
The subtle.
Look at down here.
The subtle inlays.
And this is 2 different pieces of wood, right?
Yes. Well, it's veneer over top.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you fit a piece perfectly in with that little.
Yep.
Wow. And it's only the one leg that has that? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, if you can go, it's really not a very good picture, but my intention was that red leg would catch your attention first, with the lines going up the outside corner,
and then catch that.
Some black veneer above it.
Right here.
No.
Go back to the leg.
Yeah.
Go back to the leg right there.
There's those 2 dashes that continue
Right.
your eye up to the top, and then across with that graceful line hitting the red dot, and then you're on the outside edge to the left, bringing your eye back down to the floor.
Interesting.
So it all works.
Well, she likes it so much. Why don't she buy it?
That mentality is such a.
I own it already.
You what?
He owns it already.
Oh, I was to say no. I said that Shannon likes it so much. Why don't I just let her buy it from you?
That mentality is such a painter's mentality. Is such a photographer's mentality of how do you draw your eye? What's going to naturally take you from this to here, from bottom to the top right to the top left? What's going to naturally carry your eye that way?
Well, it's a trip. That's all I can say, guys. It's just really a trip. It's so much fun to do. And it's just a weird turn of events, because my remodeling business has been fairly successful. I've been able to support myself and pay off the child support and have my building. But here 3 years ago, basically work dried up. And at that time, fortunately, I had a little bit of money set aside, and I started this furniture business all over again. I had done it years ago when I was married, and when I went through my divorce, I told myself I was never going to build furniture again, because it's such a hard way to make money.
Sure.
And so I was just, I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs, wondering what to do. And I just kind of decided I was going to recreate myself as an artist, and started off on this whole adventure. And now the carpentry work started back up, and I'm getting some of my bills paid back, but it's hard to get time to do the furniture again. And this is a real struggle, trying to have time to do both things.
Well, I mean, with
time to pay your bills and time to build your passion.
Right, exactly. We all kind of bump into those things once in a while, because it's hard.
We both have full-time jobs.
Have full-time jobs too, and doing this.
How do you expand the podcast? How do you expand the studio? Real quick before we let Tom go, this is Ron Paulk's YouTube video, And what he made here is he took a portable DeWalt table saw, and he created through Google SketchUp, which I know you're not a fan of. but some people are really good at that.
I wish I were.
And he was able to build plans on Google SketchUp, and he shows on this video how this portable workbench system goes together and how he uses it, because he is a Finnish carpenter. So he loads this stuff up in the back of his trailer, and no matter what site he goes to, he just throws this solid portable workbench table saw assembly together, and he's able to do all this really big, hard, heavy cabinetry style woodworking. It's really amazing. Check out Ron Paulk, Paulk on YouTube.
It's
Really pretty fascinating stuff. So, Tom, thank you very much for being on the podcast. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No,
I didn't mean to just cut you off like that.
No, you're fine. No. We do really appreciate you coming in and spending some time. And we've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm really glad it worked out. So, and at some point we will get out to his shop, and maybe we'll do a podcast from out there, and maybe look through some plans and some of the furniture you're building or some of the plans you're working on. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah,
so,
maybe pick your brain about some of the builds that I want to do.
well, you're
If I can catch you, you're a busy man.
no, just call ahead.
Okay. Don't just show up, because things might be happening on the first floor.
that's right.
You don't know when wood's going to be flying, sawdust, what have you.
There was a pretty good article I wanted to say that in the Iowa Source magazine, Iowa's Enlightened magazine, on Tom and some of his background and some of the things he's built. So we talked about it a lot today, but I like that article is really good that you sent me today. So, and also you can go to ThomasHallWoodworking.com, and you can see all the things he's done and his dwellings as well as furniture. Find out more about him. All people who have given him tons and tons of praise besides us for his amazing stuff. And you can have him come in and build your furniture.
Contact him.
Contact
See
him.
what's going on.
Who doesn't love a piece of handmade furniture?
It's something that is going to be around for a while and made with love. It's kind of like when you make. We were just talking to Andy Schumacher about when you make something from scratch, when you make something by hand, and it's not just mass-produced stuff. You can't help but have a little bit of love in there.
Right.
No, there's an energy that actually goes into the object, from the maker, and other people can feel it, You put some of yourself in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I want one of your pipes.
I want to get something out of it.
No, I want the energy that he used for it.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
You know what? Real quick, you can do the whole see you later, all that other stuff. But real quick, you're watching this video, you're listening to the podcast. Do us a favor, highlight the link, email it to all your friends, put it on Facebook, get our names out there, please, please, please. We're trying to get as many followers as we can. We're trying to get as much exposure as we can. We have our Kickstarter campaign that's still in effect. You'll see this video, and it'll still be going on.
Yep.
For the next.
When's the Kickstarter end?
30 days from yesterday.
From yesterday, and yesterday was the 19th of January.
Of January, yeah.
So 30 days from then. So please help us hit our goals, and we're going to try to bring you some more enjoyable stuff.
And more podcasts.
And different podcasts.
Yeah,
from different
podcasts.
people. Todd, how would other people get to know us? Where would they go?
The easiest and best way to go is go to tpsbproductions.com. While you're on there, you can follow us.
Why don't you click on the link?
Oh, fine.
This is Todd's first day on the computer.
Sorry. Go to tpsbproductions.com and you can see our website. And if you go up here to the shows, you can see the Primal Scream and my blog, which I haven't been on for a month. The Count to 10 podcast. What is that all about?
Simon Sanborn gets on there, and he has some videos on behavioral issues and how parents can relate to children, and how teachers can relate to their students, and how teachers and parents can handle all types of adverse situations.
Awesome. I don't watch shit like that. And the Bandwagon podcast, which is fantastic.
Very funny.
Very funny guys.
Oh, They talk about sports. It's a sports-related podcast, but it's all about bandwagon.
They live their lives this way.
If you're number 2, they hate you. They're fickle. They're mercurial.
They're very excited for the Super Bowl because they're going to have...
What about that? Mercurial.
It's fantastic.
You like that word?
The enunciation was perfect. They're very excited for the Super Bowl because they just don't know who's going to win, and they just can't wait to see because their person's going to win the game. So they're very excited.
It's a great way. It's a great mentality to have, especially when it comes to sports, because every game is a celebration.
Right.
Every game. I mean, they might be rooting for some particular team to win, but the winner is their favorite. Every game, it changes.
It changes?
It changes. Whoever wins, that's their favorite.
There they are. The
bandwagon.
The bandwagon podcast.
Happy that the Green Bay lost? I mean,
they would be happy.
They're very happy.
Very, very happy.
They're very happy. And not because they're not Green Bay fans. It's just they're happy with who wins, period.
Because they're bandwagon.
Yep. So if you go to theprimalscream.com, you can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. You can see a little bit about us. One of my favorite pictures of Matt there ever. I love that picture. But that's pretty much it. Also, iTunes, Stitcher. Subscribe, follow, review, do all the shit that you're supposed to do.
Copy, paste, send off to your friends.
Yeah,
do it all.
Kickstarter is the big one, so please help us out.
Thank you to all of our sponsors. We have Sweet Raw Joy. We have Eco Lips. We have Cards Against Humanity. Penguins Comedy Club helps us out a great deal with helping us out with comedians to come in the podcast. We get to meet a lot of great people that way also. So thank you to everybody for listening to this podcast. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And we'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.